Welcome to Scorched Earth Tarot. This is going to be a mid-month reading for the sign of Taurus, Sun, Moon and Ascendant. It's going to be a little different to the monthlies, a little bit shorter, just a bit of a check-in more than anything else. It may or may not follow on from the monthly readings. Might be for an entirely different group of Taurus people. You'll have to make your mind up. Use your own discernment as to whether it applies to you or not. And as usual, take what resonates and leave the rest. So I'm going to pull 3 cards to see where you're at right now. Put my hair out of the way. I've got Hermit. It's a card of Virgo. 7 of Wands. Whoop. And the Knight of Wands. Bottom of the deck, we've got the 4 of Wands. Right, it's fire energy, but that's my twin flame soulmate, person who feels like home card there. The reason I giggled was because the Knight of Wands is at the end here, and if you've watched the January monthly, you'll remember that Sagittarius was all over that. So these 3 cards are where you're at the moment. We've got the Hermit, like I said, card of Virgo, 7 of Wands, and the Knight of Wands. Well, the Hermit talks about introspection, right? Talks about stillness, going within to find the answers, because ultimately that's where all the answers are. They're not external to you ever. They're always inside you. And we've got the 7 of Wands and the Knight of Wands. And I feel like these two need to be read together, because I feel what you're introspecting about is the emotional reaction that you have had to this person here. This charismatic knight who has galloped into your life. It can be a man or a woman. Don't get tied up with gender. Excuse me. All it really means with the knight, as opposed to it being a king or a queen, is that I feel this is quite a fresh connection, or at least you're viewing this connection with fresh eyes. This defensive posture here is you analysing your feelings, I think, because there's loads of water on this card, and there isn't usually on the 7 of Wands card. Usually there's a bit of a trickle, but actually there's a huge torrent here. And, you know, since I seem to be reading for the same group of Taurians that I was for the monthly general, I think you're still very much in the same space. You're spending a bit of time going within, because the arrival of this person, whoever it is, charismatic, bold, confident, exciting, probably pretty sexy, very fun to be around as well, has you feeling like you want to put your guard up, but not putting your guard up, and then going into a bit of a tailspin as to why you're not doing it, right? And you know why you're not doing it. You're not doing it because of this. Anyway. That's lovely. I love it. I don't think there's anything more to be said, really. If you haven't watched the January monthly and you feel like this may apply to you, I'd go back and watch that, because I went into quite some depth about it. There doesn't seem to be any point in doing the same again here now, because this does seem to be a bit of a follow-on. So, oh, I'm going to sneeze. Am I going to sneeze? I'm going to sneeze. So what I'm going to do now is pull 3 cards for what is coming up for Taurus in the last 2 weeks of January. So we're talking from the 15th to the 31st. And then I'll pull another 3 cards of advice and see if we can't smooth the way for you a little. So, what's coming up for Taurus? Whoa. Ooh. Okay. What's coming up for Taurus? And what's coming up for Taurus for the end of January? We've got the Empress, which I always read as the card of Taurus anyway. And the 4 of Wands flipped as well, which I love. The Empress is all about New beginnings, I think. Fertility and abundance. The card that flipped down here is the Two of Swords. Card on the bottom of the deck now is Death. That's the card of Scorpio. It talks about intense transformation. And if it's one thing that has really been coming out since mid-November, I would think across all readings, is this notion of transformation. Everybody is, I want to say leveling up, but really starting to reassess what they want from their lives. These two cards together, absolutely phenomenal. A period of great introspection, learning about themselves, examining triggers and wounds and all these kind of things, and opening themselves up, becoming very receptive to stuff, except that we have the Nine of Swords, we have the Ten of Pentacles, we have the Two of Swords. Now, the Nine of Swords is quite a painful card. This is woman sat up in bed in the middle of the night. She's obviously having a hard time with something. She's got her head in her hands, and she's in a state of some mental distress. Because it's swords. It's mental, right? There can be communication, there can be words, there can be, exchanges of ideas between people. But generally, I work on the assumption that swords up, good, swords down, bad, right? Because tarot is all about the imagery, right? That's what actually tarot is. It's not these pieces of paper here. It's about the symbols. So for me, the fact that these swords are all lying horizontally and mounted up against the wall suggests to me that whatever it is that you're worrying about, it's in your head. Not as in your crackers or anything like that. But this suggests to me more overthinking, right? It's not submitting. In fact, I saw the Hanged Man while I was shuffling. It's about allowing things to happen, right? You don't have to examine everything from 57,000 different angles to check that it's safe. Sometimes you can just trust your intuition and let it happen. We've got the Death card at the bottom of the deck, this transformation occurring, and that's going to be a personal transformation for you, but I think it's a personal transformation of circumstances as well. And we've got the Ace of Wands at the bottom of the deck here. We're talking about the potential of a new relationship, possibly. But these cards are in a neutral position, right? There's no actual threat from these swords. They're mounted up on the wall. They're out of the way. She'd have to actually really go out of her way to injure herself on them. But that's kind of what's implied by the Nine of Swords. Because you're overthinking, you are kind of going out of your way to sabotage this. And obviously nobody does that on purpose. At the bottom of the deck. Nobody goes out of their way to do that on purpose. But we do sometimes fall into old patterns, where we do the same thing. And you need to not do that. I'm going to pull one more card. Yeah. This is my card of self-sabotage. The Eight of Swords, right? She feels trapped. She's not. She's just thought herself into a hole. And that's the energy that you're coming into, right? Introspection is good. Too much introspection is damaging. It's limiting. It's self-sabotaging. Stop it, right? Because you've got the Ten of Pentacles, right? This is a card. It's a wonderful card, right? And it's a 10. It's the completion of a cycle, right? You don't get any better than the 10, or potentially any worse, depending on which suit it is. Whatever you're worrying about, it's completely pointless, because you've got a card of commitment here. You've got a card of material happiness. It's sometimes called the inheritance card, but for the point of this, I think that it's indicating that everything that you've ever wanted is really literally right in front of you. You've gone from the 9 to the 10, but you've gone from the 9, overthinking, panic, worry, insomnia, all that kind of thing, up to the 10, where everything is just, it's just beautiful. Look at that. Oh, that's the second time I've seen that card now. That's what I was smirking at a second ago. But the card at the bottom of the deck is the Sun, right? This Tower moment that you're having is part of your transformation, right? Let go those things that are kind of shuffling their way out of your life, right? Because it's making space for the new. Death makes space for the new. And the new is right here. It's right in front of you. And then you've got the Two of Swords. Right? The Two of Swords is about making a choice. About making a choice. What I don't like about that card is that it gives the impression that it's a purely intellectual choice. But for me, because the water is present on the card and because the moon is there, like there's feelings involved. The subconscious is already involved, but she's deliberately blinding herself to it. Right? She's got a blindfold on, she stood with her back to all of that, right? That's your intuition. That's all your inner guidance. That is your subconscious trying to talk to you, and you've turned your back on it, and you're trying to weigh this up logically. Some things cannot be reasoned through logically. It's just not how these things work. So, stop overthinking, stop panicking. I'm going to pull another card for the Two of Swords. Because for me, the suggestion that I'm getting off here is that you need to choose to put the swords down, right? To stop the overthinking, to stop trying to rationalise something that actually probably defies a reasonable explanation. And go with your instincts, go with your gut, go with your feelings. Submit to it, right? I'm not going to take it because it didn't jump, but I'm going to take it as confirmation for what I've been saying. Two of Swords. Just as I'm going to take that as confirmation of what I was saying, right? This is not an intellectual choice. This is something from the heart. And you've been burned before. I can see that. And there's a certain amount of trust that needs to go along with this. But your intuition won't see you wrong, I don't think. Not in this situation. It is safe. You are safe. You are protected. And I feel like you know that on some sort of level, because you do feel like you've been guided to this person, or at least this person's been guided to you, and they are your wish fulfillment. So stop trying to sabotage it for yourself, because whilst you might think it keeps you safe, at the end of the day, it's only going to end up hurting you. Open yourself up to it. Right, let's get some cards of advice. 3 cards of advice for Taurus, please, for what's coming up in January. Ooh, one, don't know what that was. Have a look. 2, 3. Ace of Pentacles, Ace of Swords, and the Queen of Swords, right? Do not believe this. The 4 of Wands is at the bottom of the deck again, right? Stop being so stubborn, right? You've been told now, stop. The Ace of Pentacles is a new start. It's a tangible new start in the 3D of some description, right? It's your pentacle. Right? It's the kind of start that you like as an earth sign. Right? You know the truth. Stop trying to intellectualize yourself out of the truth, because it's completely pointless. You know, look at these sky hands that are giving you these opportunities. Right? If you don't take them, they remain insubstantial. You know. These are the seeds. These are what you have to work with. But if you don't take them, they just remain up in the ether as you know, things that you don't know how to deal with. And stop trying to reason your way out of it. Right? It's not going to happen. If you keep yourself in this place here, right? I saw the world when I was shuffling. You've come to the end of a cycle. It's time to reprogram your brain, right? Now, nobody sits in this energy, if they haven't been hurt before, right? I feel like that's a real strong thing. Like there's been hurt here. You are trying to protect yourself from falling in too fast. And I get it. I understand. But you're not the same person that you were before, right? We've had the Death card come up. We've had the Tower card come up. We've got the Hermit card come up right there. It's all introspection, transformation, change, right? Now the Tower can bring stuff in and it can take stuff out, and the Tower has brought this to you, right? So part of this is you unlearning those protective mechanisms which worked for you for a while but are now going to sabotage you and keep you standing still, right? You cannot analyze soulmate issues of the heart with this queen, right? Because she very deliberately puts all those things to the side and she makes intellectual, reasoned decisions. But it's leaving you stuck right now. Take a little bit of advice from your Knight of Wands and start living a bit more spontaneously, because these new things, they're right here for you. Right, I'm going to leave it there, Taurus. If it resonated with you, and I've been getting a lot of messages from Tauruses to say that this was absolutely spot on for the January monthlies, I feel like this is a continuation of that and should probably resonate the same, I would think. Like the video, leave a comment, all that sort of thing. If not, then I'll see you for February. Take care.